Welcome to the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena Shuey. I have a Bachelor of Psychology, Masters of Counselling and Masters of Social Work. My aim is to normalise rather than pathologise life. And in this podcast, we talk all things therapy, women's mental health, leadership and business. So if you're ready to learn some tips, tricks and hear some amazing stories to really amplify your life and your business, let's get into it. Welcome again to the 4Q podcast.
Oh, Kat, I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to the 4Q podcast.
Thanks, Sheena. I'm so excited to be here and really grateful to be your guest today.
Dude, I know we connected in another business group that we used to be part of that unfortunately closed because we love being part of that community. And unfortunately, we weren't in it together anymore, but we're still on the gram together. You know, I always see you popping up.
I know you can't escape me anytime soon. Thank God for Instagram. I was able to find you and reconnect.
I know it is the place to hang out and to stay connected. So let's get into today. So again, for those who are new here, we are going to go through the 4 questions of the 4Q podcast. Now, the 4 questions are based on my 4R formula, which is around reflecting on who you are, redefining, so things that will change the way you see the world, redesigning, which is all about how do you redesign your life after you redefine it, and then realigning is all about how do you stay aligned once you've gone through whatever it is that you've gone through. Now, today, we're going to hear a bit about Kat. So let's start off, Kat. Let's reflect on who you are. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and a bit of your bio?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Kat Piachaud. I am a CPA accountant. I've been doing that for 12 years. I recently started my own bookkeeping and CFO consulting firm back in April this year. I absolutely love it. So I've been able to grow the business from 5K to 6 figures in 5 short months. I have 3 staff. I am 33 years old and I have 2 beautiful children, 3 years old and 1 year old. And I also have a FIFO partner, which is fly in, fly out. And I am just a lover of all things. I love socializing. I love friends. I love connecting with people. I love wine, coffee, exercising, keeping healthy and fit. I'm also a novice half marathon runner. So
oh my gosh,
love all of that stuff. My love language is words of affirmation. So always cheering people on because, you know, we do what we how we would like to receive love, really. And I am a Libra.
Oh, there you go. You know, it's funny. I was reading through your bio that you sent through before this podcast, and I was like, are we the same person? Other than the star sign. So for those following, I'm a Sagittarius. And the other thing is that you're into fitness. I used to be, and then kids just like threw my shit off. I'm getting back into it as you do, but oh my God, I miss that part of myself so deeply. So, you know, 2023, 2024, that's definitely coming back into my life.
Yeah, it's tough, Sheena. It's absolutely tough, the whole juggle. So I don't blame you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like something's got to give. And unfortunately for me, that's the area, but not in 2024. So, look, I love that. And I love the dedication to all of that, especially, when my kids were young, at the time their dad was doing fly in, fly out too. And it's tough. It is tough balancing all the hats. So props to you on that.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah. It can be so hectic. But I love that you're talking about you built your business up super fast. That is super exciting. So obviously that's going to take some characteristics in you, something in you. And so I think that kind of leads nicely to our redefine. Maybe this is the area for you that's been maybe a hard moment that maybe changed things for you, or something that redefined something for you. So can you tell us a bit about what that moment was for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, it was having children, to be honest. And yeah, as I said, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And something that a lot of people don't know about me is I didn't really want children. I went along life with my amazing partner and we had a great life. We traveled a lot, and I just didn't really feel like I could add anything to our life that would make it any more amazing. And I even did market research. So I'd even ask people, why do you have children? Or why do you want to have children? Just to see if that really sat with me, or those reasons were something that I could consider. And none of them really sat with me. But my partner is such a maternal person. He loves children, has always wanted children. And so we did. We had a daughter and a son. And I truly believe to this day that giving him the gift of being a dad was the most amazing thing that I could have done in my whole life. And I love that I did that for him because he's an incredible dad. But having children just absolutely changed, redefined my whole life. And everything I do it for them. And in hindsight, I think, I never would have seen this at the time, but I think in hindsight, when I look at that previous Kat making that decision to never want children, it was led by a lot of fear. And it was led by that Kat that didn't think she could ever be a good mum, because I had a lot of things come up about my childhood. And I was like, well, I've never seen an example of amazing parents, so how could I be one? And so it's been really triggering, I think, being a parent at the same time as well. And they say that when we go through parenthood and we go through the years of our child's life, we actually relive our childhood to some extent. And that can be really tough if you did have a tough childhood. But I'm so grateful that I did it. And out of that then absolutely did come my business, and did come this fight, this energy to do more for not just me, because I think we all have really self-sabotaging beliefs and actions sometimes. And I wouldn't have been able to thrive and start my own business if it wasn't for my children. And what it looked like going back to work for me was going back full-time in a corporate environment, far away from home, which would have meant my children would have had to be in daycare for 12-hour days. And I didn't want that for myself, let alone my children. So I took the plunge and started my own business, fully supported, and I've never looked back. And to be able to achieve those results and see why I'm doing it every day has just been absolutely life-changing for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on a few points there. And, it's funny to anyone listening, I think the last 4 guests I've had, because I'm getting back into having guests on the podcast, because again, life happens. And, having my youngest around, it was really hard to schedule these again. But the last 4 guests have all said that whole motherhood, the early years, has really been super redefining for them. And I'm very mindful of anybody listening who perhaps isn't a parent. I guess 2 things that you touched on is, one was, how did you make this decision, for yourself? Because it's not just obviously, it sounded like you were giving this gift to your partner, but obviously at the end of the day, like, it's about you as well. So how did you overcome that fear of being a parent? And the second thing is that, the reliving the childhood stuff. I guess, like, if we can touch on that secondary, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Look, Sheena, it's a hard one to answer because I feel like I'm always redefining who I want to be as a parent, and I'm constantly growing with my children, and I'm really honest to them. Like, I don't know it all, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I tell them that often. I'm like, I'm sorry, babe, like, mum's new into this and mum doesn't know, and sometimes mum won't get it right. And we have open conversations about that because I want them to know that mum's not perfect either. And that means that gives them space to know that they don't have to be.
Mm.
So some of the tools that I guess I use is I see a therapist, and I always have. And I highly recommend them. They have helped me through some really dark times. Yeah, absolutely. They're incredible. And it's funny because when I was a lot younger and in previous generations, seeing a therapist was really a negative thing and really frowned upon. But I can honestly say I will see one for the rest of my life. Not because there's anything wrong with me, but because it's a tool for when I need it, just like I go to the gym to exercise. So therapy has absolutely helped me. Just going to my GP, I guess having a good GP, having amazing friends that I can talk to, whether it's mamas in business, whether it's female entrepreneurs, whether it's other mums just with the same age kids or another FIFO parent, just women around me that inspire me every day and that I can relate to and talk to and just get it, really. And yeah, focusing on myself when and if I can. So giving myself that time to go, all right, when the kids are in bed at 7 p.m, go and light a candle and read a book, or go and meditate and give myself that time, go for a walk if I need to, whatever I have to do to kind of get myself through. But it changes all the time. And I don't want to be the perfect parent. I don't want my kids to think that I am either. I just want to be the best every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I really love, particularly with yourself and a couple of our other guests too, is their business and their lifestyle change all came after kids. Like a lot of people think you start a business and then you have kids and blah, blah, blah. But I think there's this thing of, okay, what do I actually want now? My time is limited. My energy is limited. What do I actually want? And how can I more effectively use the skills that I have? So I find that super interesting. And again, for anyone listening who maybe is like, actually, I want to be child-free, or I actually don't want to go down the child path, don't feel like you have to become a mum to wait for this idea. I think if you can get something out of this as well as listening to us and listening to these stories, if you could use the skills that you have to be more effective with your time and energy, and to risk sounding cliche like the millions of business coaches out there, including myself, is that it is more about how can I make more money in less time doing something that I actually love and I'm actually good at, right? So, I love that you've done that for yourself. So, how did you make the step from going, okay, I'm going to be a mum, this is it, to like the fear of becoming a mum too? Like it sounded like it really was initiated by you wanting to give this gift to your partner, your husband. I'm wondering, how did you redesign your life after having kids to go, you know what, I'm going to start this business, otherwise I'm going to have to put them in daycare? How did you take that leap? Because I think a lot of the time it's not easy. Like I think people think they see someone successful like yourself, like this 6-figure entrepreneur so fast, and they might go, she was just born like that. And I think it's a skill that needs to be learned, of going to the edge and just taking the jump anyway, not knowing how it's going to land. How did you do that? Can we get into a little bit of that?
Yeah, that's such a great question, Shane. And I would hate for anyone to think that I'm just so lucky and so privileged, because I really don't believe in luck. So it goes back to when I was younger. My mum was the breadwinner in our family. She owned a business. She came to Australia when
Oh, sorry, you there? Sorry, give me 1 second. It's just jumpy a little bit.
Run young children. So,
of course, the internet, we love our technical difficulties, but going back to what you were just saying, Kat, how did you take the leap of faith and take that risk and really tell yourself, how do I create this life that I want to live?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like going back when I was younger, I was raised by both my parents, and my mum was the breadwinner of our family. She came to Australia when she was 30 years old, met my dad, and had three girls. And the only way for her was to start her own business. And she did really well. And my dad didn't work as much. So, seeing that my mum kind of did all the things, did all the roles, and did it with a smile on her face every day really motivated me. And I've always wanted to contribute financially to my family. But then, second to that, my sister passed away when she was 18 years old, and it was really sudden. She actually had heart disease, which we had no idea about. And I was 14 at the time, but that was a really redefining moment for my life because she was so young and I saw her stress through, what was it called back then? TEE, the high school studies that get you into university. And she missed the law, like getting into law by like 2 marks or something. And she was devastated. And I saw her stress out for the last 2 years of her life doing that. And it made me think, gosh, life is so short. And we don't have a lot of time because who knows when we're ever going to die or leave this world. And so I've always, ever since then, ever since my sisters died, really just taken everything and run with it and gone, you know what, don't look back, just go. And I never have told myself that this business was not going to work. I was pregnant with my second son and I was on maternity leave and I thought, heck, let's just get my license, apply for it all now, even though I was so tired and in so much pain, because you're going to make this happen. If you want to make it happen, you will. Life is too short. And that's kind of how I've lived my life for the last 17 years or so, is just take it, just go for it. And never doubt yourself because your mind will always stop you in ways and you will never see your full potential. And it's crazy because I look at how much I've built and I've gone, wow, like who, me? And all of these like thoughts happen in my mind and I'm like, how the hell have I done this? And like, I just kind of laugh about it sometimes. But when I look back, I'm like, it was completely my mindset. It was me going, you're not going to give up. And of course, having the reminder of my children there every day. They already have a fly in, fly out dad. I want them to have some stability with their mum.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. And thank you so much for sharing. I know that mustn't have been something easy at all to go through, but what an inspiration you are that you were able to take that story from your sister and really use it as part of your own, so that I'm sure, she'd be really proud during this time to see that you're going, you know what, I'm going all in. And what an amazing gift that is, So thank you so much for sharing that, because I think life is short. And sometimes, again, we don't need to become a mum. We don't need to have someone pass away to have that reminder. If we just stop and actually listen and go, you know what? I have one life. I could work for someone for the rest of my days. Will that make me happy? Or should I just take a risk on myself and actually go, you know what? Even if this doesn't work out, I will never go to the grave with what if, right? But it'll work out. It does work out, because regardless, and I think we both appreciate this, is that business will teach you so much more about yourself than, I really put it on par with motherhood when I talk about the personal development I've gone through. The two biggest things that have really pushed my own are becoming a mum and business, because you got to show up when you maybe don't look the way you thought you would. You're showing up when maybe you're sick, like today. I said, I was joking with Kat before we jumped on this podcast that I'm still a bit nasally. I'm still a little bit sick, but with kids under 5, if I waited until I wasn't sick to record a video or a podcast, there wouldn't be a podcast. So, and it just shows you, a strength that maybe you didn't have. but it also shows you how valuable your time and energy is. And so I'm very mindful of, I finish my days early. I make sure I go for a walk during the day. I make sure that I take a day off if I need to. But all of that is so much more difficult when you work for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. As much as it gives you your freedom, it does require you having to show up when you're going through the tough times. But those tough times are the times that really define you. And I don't know if you feel this, Sheena, but those are the times that lead my business forward, really. And exactly give you that strength. And I absolutely agree with you. Becoming a mum has given me this next level strength. Like, I feel like a superwoman. Like we could be Marvel characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like that confidence then shows in my business. I'm like, hey, if I can be a mum, I can do anything.
Absolutely. And, I think I talk about this with my one-on-one clients too, definitely, of that learning to listen to yourself. So, even today, right, I'm listening to the fact that I have enough energy and enough motivation to show up without burning out. But if I literally woke up today, I was sick, but I'm not motivated, or I'm dreading this podcast, like I'm not looking forward to it, I wouldn't have shown up. But, it's about learning, okay, when do I need to lean in? When do I need to lean out? When am I still motivated and excited, or when am I just hustling and pushing through? Because that's the difference, is that when you just hustle and push through and you're not lit up, that's the burnout phase. But when you're going, you know what, I can do this and it's going to be fun and energetic, that's a completely different way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned energy, because I think as mums or entrepreneurs, energy is so important in both aspects. I work with entrepreneurs every day and I see them just pushing themselves and pushing themselves. And one of the exercises I do, which sounds really simple, is I go through their calendar and I say, okay, where is your energy going? And honestly, what are you loving doing and what are you not? Because some things, unfortunately, you do have to do when you don't love doing it. And we look at ways we can either outsource or automate it, which then save us that energy. Like, even if it's something that's going to cost you a bit of money, you need so much energy to be there for your family, to be there for your business, your partner, your health, mental health, everything else. So important.
Oh, absolutely. Everything you mentioned, I think, for those of you who've interacted with our service, Charlie is our admin and she is my godsend. And Charlie knows how much I love her. And that's because she saves me my burnout. If it wasn't for her, I would be burnt out. If I was still doing all the invoicing, changing all the appointments, doing all the things, and I think that's really important, is that mind shift of, you don't have to be a millionaire to outsource things, right? It could be as simple as, $100 or $50 a week for a cleaner. Like, if you can save the amount of energy and time from outsourcing a cleaner, I remember my bathrooms would take me hours. And then if I got a cleaner, it would save me not only time, but the energy, because the mental energy to get myself to actually go, I know I've got to do that bloody bathroom and blah, blah, like all the stuff that come along with that. So, I think that that's such a vital part of this. And so, and that leads really nicely into our final area, which is around our realigning, right? And that's around, what do you do now to sort of stay on track, stay calm, clear, and content? How do you avoid the burnout and that kind of stuff creeping in? What are the things you do to stay on track? I know you mentioned a therapist already, which, again, it's like a personal trainer. You don't have, like, it's just someone you have in your life. You see a personal trainer, you see a massage therapist, same thing. It's just there. What are some things? So you mentioned therapy. Is there any other things that you do, or is there any specific things your therapist really helps with?
Yeah, absolutely. She helps me highlight things that I've already achieved that would help me in a current situation. So, for example, I think women especially, we don't acknowledge what we've already done. And that's really important, to say, look how far we've come. to show each other the progress as well. But I also I outsource everything, and we don't earn $1 million, unfortunately, yet. But cleaning, food preparation sometimes, and asking for help. It is so hard to do as a mum or entrepreneur, so hard to ask for help. But I mean, just from my partner, from my kids, sometimes it might be like, make sure you brush your teeth or clean up the toys or feed the dog. Just from your internal family, we could always ask for more help. I meditate as much as I possibly can, and I am such an extrovert, so I make sure I see my friends at least once a week. And that might be a mum friend or an entrepreneur friend that would help me in those areas of life as well. But I always make sure I'm connected with people. But my primary aim is to look after myself first. And I think as women, we can sometimes see that as being selfish, or we've got so many other things to do, and we've got to pack the school bag, and we've got to clean the house. And I make sure I go to the gym at 6 o'clock every morning, and I'm so tired. But if I don't do this, this is the only time I've got for myself. I make sure I get outside and go for a walk or read a book. And yeah, I absolutely prioritize myself, because I can't give to my children, my partner, my business, and my staff if I'm not in a good place. And when I had my first child, I really struggled with postpartum anxiety and depression. And I realized that I wasn't doing anything for myself at all. And I joined up to a running club in Perth, which was amazing to just move my body, but also associate with a community where I identified as Kat and not as a mum, or not only as a mum. And then I also went back to work full time at 6 months postpartum, and not for the money, not for the interaction, but also to be me and give and be in my skill set and what I'd worked so hard for over the years. So I think I do feel like we can have it all to some extent, not all, but as much as you can. Like, listening to your energy is really, really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you say, is that, I always hesitate online to be like, balance is possible, because, there is a lot of hate out there when people are like, that's impossible. That's such a terrible message to send. But it's like, balance is possible. You just got to redefine what that looks like for you, in that it's not going to be perfect, but you can have a more balanced life. You can at least aim for that. And then you'll be a lot closer to actually having that than not. And Kat, I'm curious, because that is such a good message, right? Like, you've got to take care of yourself as a mum first, and then you have the energy for business and kids and your partner and your friends. But I'm curious, how did you, and besides from your therapist, and maybe it was from your therapist, but how did you learn to put yourself first amidst all of that, given that it sounds like your mum was such a giver, in that, she had her own business, she was doing all of the things, because I very much relate to that. My mum was a breadwinner for a while there. She was a nurse as well. So she was doing shift work. She was doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, because my dad had retired quite young. And it was hard, because I never really saw her taking care of herself or putting herself first, other than, the occasional getting her nails done and that kind of thing. How did you learn that for yourself, particularly our generation, where we saw our mums just hustling?
Yeah, my mum was very similar to yours, Sheena, and never put herself first. I think it was really hitting rock bottom, and that depression and anxiety. I mean, I got to a point with my first daughter that I couldn't even change her nappy. Like, my anxiety was so bad. And I had my FIFO partner, so she relied on me. I would shut her in her bedroom while she was crying, safe of course, and go for a walk. And it was probably my partner that held me accountable. And he said, you've got to get out, you've got to do something for yourself. He took parental leave. And said, I'm going to come home for 4 months and I'm going to help you out, realizing how hard it was at the same time. But yeah, if it wasn't for him going, you haven't seen your friends in so long, you need to go read a book. He knows exactly what I love doing, just going out for a hot coffee. And he will hold me accountable to that. And it's really nice to have that support. He's not business minded at all, but just having someone that cares for you when you're struggling to care for yourself is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important message for all of us. You know, I think sometimes we're so scared, whether it's a partner or a friend or a family member, when to sort of say, hey, like, you know, you need to take care of yourself, or have you thought about seeing a therapist? Because you don't ever want it to come across as like insulting. But I think sometimes we don't know how to ask for help, particularly as women. It's really hard. You know, I remember those early days, and I had a friend drop off the lasagna, the cliche thing, but she just did it. You know, I had a lot of friends offer, but this particular one was like, I know that mums don't ask for help, so I'm just going to drop it off regardless. And it was such a godsend at the time. You know, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But I think that's the thing. It's like you need someone to push you, right, to actually get that help. So, you know, do you have any tips for how your husband or your partner approached that with you in such a in a nice, kind of gentle but shoving you kind of way, like you need to take care of yourself, but this isn't insulting, this is nothing about like you're not doing enough or anything like that?
Yeah, we went to a lot of couples counselling, like after our first, we really struggled. Just the way we spoke to one another, it wasn't very nice. I was so sleep deprived, and absolutely it was a lot of me as well. And that really helped us a lot. So once again, a therapist. And because we just weren't listening to one another, we weren't hearing each other out. But we actually went through therapy, and our conversations would go like this: Kat, what do you need? And I would have the space to have no judgment, nothing like that, and just be heard, and I could ask him exactly what I need. And then in moments I would ask him back what he needed, and I'd be able to give him what he needed too. And it wasn't coming from a space of anger or you're being so rude, anything like that. It was just caring for one another so that we could be our best selves for our kids. And eventually, as we kept doing the exercises that the therapist taught us, he knew exactly, started learning what I needed. And it would be a friend, or it would be a coffee by myself, or a walk outside, or to exercise and move my body. And his needs are completely different to mine as well. But I've over time learned what he needs as well. And just listening to each other, I think. It actually stemmed from back when we were in hospital, the midwives, thank God, were drilling into him, going, this is what you need to do, like make sure she gets out of the house every day, make sure. And it was amazing because, you know, my dad did nothing, hardly wiped our bum. So, and once again, he's a really hands-on dad. So very, very lucky in that sense. But you're exactly right. I probably have a handful of friends that dropped off food for me as well, which was just a godsend at the time. And now I do that for all my friends. I try so hard. And it's funny when you become a parent, you go, oh my gosh, I wish I knew. I wish I knew how much they were struggling, and I would have tried to do so much more, and I could have back then. And so now I'm so for mothers. I'm so for mothers being financially free. I'm so for mothers getting exactly what they need. I'm so for them starting businesses if that's what they want as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Speaking of which, it has been such a blessing to have you on this podcast. I think so many people are going to get so many nuggets of wisdom out of this. But if they want to be financially free, maybe they want to have some more energy, or maybe they're even thinking like, maybe I do want to start this business, and they want maybe more of the logistical side of it. How can they find you? How can we all connect with you and find you?
Oh, amazing. So I am on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So my business is called Catalyze Consulting. And also my personal page is Kat Piachaud. So yeah, you can find me on any of those socials. I do bookkeeping and CFO consulting, and I help women in business and female entrepreneurs build a business which makes profit, because we all need to make money, by working less as well, so that they can be at home with their kids and contribute financially if that's what they want. So yeah, I've been able to amazingly build my business from $5,000 to $250,000 in 5 short months by only working 3 days a week, being with my kids for the other 4 days, a FIFO partner as well. And I absolutely love what I do. I love my clients. They inspire me every day. And I would love to help anyone that's looking for business. You know, don't get me wrong, I have days where I just need a slack off on the couch, and that's where my energy is telling what my energy is telling me to do. I'm 100%, I'm not go. But I want women to always feel empowered, and you know, we're so incredible, and we can absolutely do what we want in life.
Oh, amazing, Kat. Well, anyone who wants to connect with you, Kat's details are in the show notes, so I will put them there. It was such a privilege to have you. And for anybody listening, go check her out. She's incredible. And we will see you all in the next episode of the 4Q podcast.